Hi, welcome to my first video. I'm ASMR Marmalade, and today I wanted to share my book collection. It's not my entire book collection. A lot of them are in boxes. So it's just a small select few of books that I have read and books that I am yet to read. So let's get started. I do have with me a pencil for tracing and pointing. If anyone's interested, if there are any big pencil fans out there, this is a Baldmere 2B. And I'll use it to point at some books that I'm going to show you. So first is one of my favourite books, and as you can see, it's been very well read. This is Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. It is in a very used condition. As you can see here, I've had to sellotape the back, keep the spine intact. I first read this as part of my A-level English literature course, and it was the first classic novel I'd read, and I was so surprised at how much I enjoyed it, and how much I really admired Jane. So this book was my favourite for a long time, until quite recently, when I read Little Women for the first time. But unfortunately, I don't know where my copy of Little Women's gone. It must be in a box somewhere, which is a shame, because I like my copy. But yeah, I've still got Jane here. I do like this cover. I love the collar she's wearing and her rosy cheeks. A Penguin classic. The next book, which is very similar to Jane Eyre in its appearance and its... Where's my pencil? Oh my goodness, where has it gone? Oh, there it is. Sorry, panic over. It's very similar in its look, and its state is Anna Karenina by Leo Tolstoy. So it's another Penguin classic. The same black cover. And I also did read this for my A-levels. I think after having read Jane Eyre and realising how much I could enjoy a classic novel, I just went for the biggest one I could find, apparently. because this is about 800 pages. Yeah, I did really enjoy it. I would love to read it again because I don't remember half of it. But it would take me 3 years probably. I'm not a fast reader at all, especially with Russian literature. Yeah, it's book number 2. Carrying on with the classical theme, classic literature, I have Pride and Prejudice by Jane Austen. And although I'm not fussed about this cover, it's still a nice book, I think. Sounds nice. Feels nice. Yeah, I read this a few years ago now and loved it. After having read Jane Eyre and Anna Karenina and other books by the Bronte sisters, I was so surprised to find how easy this was to read. Because unlike Jane Eyre, which has so much imagery, Pride and Prejudice is it's mainly dialogue really. It's easy to read in my opinion, in terms of classic literature. Yeah, it's no like Midnight Sun. Sorry, I don't know why Twilight's on my mind. Yeah, but if you're looking to get into classic literature, Jane Austen's the way. Yeah, I've also just read recently Emma, and I really enjoyed it. Like, they're quite funny, really. A lot less heavy than Jane Eyre or Russian literature. Next is a small book. Keep losing my pencil, sorry. It's the Descent of Man by Grayson Perry. I love this man. Grayson Perry is, for those who don't know, he's a British artist who works a lot with ceramics, pottery, but also paintings and also tapestries, textiles. He has done a lot of TV shows actually. I think he makes art really accessible for people. And I just love him. I absolutely, really, truly want to marry him. Yes, so this book is about men, about masculinity in society, about his experiences of masculinity growing up. And I just think it's a really quite easy, short, thoughtful read. the first review is by Sandy Toxvig, and it just says, "I love Grace and Berry," and I completely agree. Yeah, and it's quite nice because it comes with little illustrations that he's done himself, of course, to go the book. And like here, you can see his illustration of real men, action figures. Yeah, so just about, I guess, toxic masculinity. I mean, that word's thrown around a lot, but just the ways it's damaging, I guess. Yeah, like I think these are supposed to be the only kind of acceptable kinds of men. You've got your average Joe, your outdoorsy nature guy, your competitive fitness freak, your rebel living on the edge, and your hard-working family man. I'm definitely a rebel living on the edge. Definitely not competitive fitness freak. Yeah. Next, I have 2 books by Madeline Miller, who writes sort of, I don't want to say modern retellings, but she writes about Greek mythology. But it's just so accessible, the way that it's written. God, I love accessibility. In the way that, say, like reading, the Iliad or the Odyssey would not be. Yes, so I've got Circe, which was the first one that I read. I'm going to put the pencil down for a little bit. Circe. And this is about Circe, who is she's the daughter of a Titan. She's a god, but she's not Olympian. Yeah, I just love it. I love books about women. I love books about witches. So this has everything for me, really. Greek mythology. Yeah, I used to be obsessed with Greek mythology when I was like 9, 10. I mean, weren't we all? Yeah, I used to read all the Percy Jacksons and just really wish I were the daughter of a Greek god. So when I first read these, I loved it. Yeah, it's really good. This was, I think, her first book, Circe. And then there's The Song of Achilles, which both books I absolutely love, but this is my favourite, I think. It's more, it's about Achilles and about the Trojan War. So it's like recognisable Greek mythology, more recognisable. And I just think it's absolutely beautiful and heartbreaking. Yeah, if you like Greek mythology, if you used to, if you don't, I don't care. You should read these. Beautiful books. this is quite a different read for me because I don't usually read non-fiction. But one, it's obviously very important, and two, it's just so well written that it's not, I'm going to say it again, inaccessible. Yeah, so this is Natives, Race and Class in the Ruins of the Empire by Carla. And it's looking at mostly race and class in the UK. And he sort of talks about it from his perspective, the experiences he had growing up. Yeah, I'm a bit slow reading anyway. This is definitely taking me a bit longer because it is non-fiction. It's so interesting and important. Yeah. Again, I mean, I'm going to recommend you all these books, aren't I? Yeah, a really good book. Yeah, so that is everything I have read / am reading. So now I will move on to the books that I have yet to read, which quite nicely actually isn't triple the size of the books that I have read. I am getting better at not ordering new books. Yeah, so what do I start with? You. So, what I have here are fairy tales, Märchen. So these are fairy tales written in English on one page and German on the other. I really like this. I've not read it. But I will one day, I swear. I feel like I have been learning German for my whole life, and I'm still terrible at it. But one day when I'm back on the German learning bandwagon, I will read this, and I will highlight every word that I don't recognise. And I will use my 2 brain cells for once. That actually leads pretty nicely onto this book. The Uses of Enchantment. Oh, look at that lovely curvy script. Jesus, I'm going to need to cut all my laughing. Okay, anyway. Yes, the uses of enchantment, the meaning and importance of fairy tales, by Bruno Bettelheim. So my friends got me this for my birthday quite a few years back now. And I have yet to read it because I went to university and I didn't bring it with me. But coming back to it now, I really want to read it. It sounds so interesting. I'll read you the back. The enchanted world of of fairy tales, with its princesses and stepmothers, its magic forests and wise old kings, has been an integral part of childhood for hundreds of years. Dr. Bettelheim wrote this book to help adults become aware of the irreplaceable importance of fairy tales. By revealing the true content of such stories, he shows how children may make use of them to cope with their baffling emotions, whether they be feelings of smallness and helplessness, or the anxieties the child feels about strangers and the mysteries of the outside world. Sorry, I just had to stop to have a bowl of cereal. But next, I am going to go with the matriarch. I bought this a couple years ago in a bookshop in Edinburgh. Really lovely bookshop in Stockbridge that I cannot remember the name of. But yeah, I'm yet to read it. It is about the Rackonitz family, who are rich, cosmopolitan and Jewish, and they are ruled over by an indomitable will of the matriarch, Anastasia. From her exotically furnished house in West London, Anastasia holds court over her children, grandchildren, and vast extended family. For someone must resolve the quarrels, celebrate the births, deaths, engagements, bankruptcies, artistic triumphs, and explain the only way to prepare a delicious creme d'oeuvre. Yes, I just think it's going to be quite up my street. And just such a beautiful cover. Really lovely. I know you shouldn't judge a book by its cover, but it's a pretty nice cover. Yes. In the same time that I bought that, my pile is falling over. My pile of books. My pile of what? What else would it be? Yes. At the same time that I bought the matriarch, I also bought Roald Dahl Madness. Considering this was quite a few years ago, I really should have read these by now, but you know, you buy new books, you read them instead. Yes, so this is a collection of short stories compiled for their similar theme of madness. Now, Roald Dahl didn't do this himself, I don't think. Ooh. Oh, I closed the receipt in. That is Golden Hair Books, that's what I called. Golden Hair Books. Shows how much I have not read this. Yeah. What was I saying? Yeah, I don't think he's compiled them himself, but someone has gone through his short stories and categorised them under madness or lust, deception or cruelty. And considering how grotesque his children's fiction could be, with, you know, the witches not having any toes, or like all the children dying in Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like, was that okay? I think this will be pretty pretty spooky, if you ask me. Yeah. Okay. Queenie by Cardy Williams. This is what I plan to read after Natives because, one, I think it'll be quite relevant, and two, going from a non-fiction book to fiction, which I think is quite easy to read. Like, I've read the first few pages and they seem easy. Not easy, just easy going. Yeah, I would quite like to read this next. And a lot of people have said it's really good. So yeah, I think that's next on the list for me. Queenie. I have this book by Angela Carter called Nights at the Circus. Such a lovely cover, I think, with this woman here. I think a circus performer. She looks like a sort of trapeze artist maybe, but she has these beautiful pink wings. I've read 2 other books by Angela Carter, and I really like the way she writes. I think it's really interesting. But her stories are they're like magic realism, but they're usually quite dark. They're not very enjoyable. So I've not been in a huge rush to read this. But I think it's a lovely looking book, and I would like to read it one day. And that brings us on to the last book that I have to show you, which is this book, Zebra by Khaled Hosseini. I've read maybe all of his books. Hosseini. I've read The Kite Runner, which is his most famous book. I've read A Thousand Splendid Suns, and I've read, I think it's called And the Mountains Echoed. And although I don't necessarily love the way he writes, I don't think he's the greatest writer ever. Sorry if you're watching this, Mr. Hosseini. But I love learning about Afghanistan because they're all set in Afghanistan, and particularly they kind of teach you a lot about its history from like the 70s onwards. Yeah, I think it's so interesting. This is quite different. This is a illustrated short novel. It's such a beautiful book, and it's about Syrian refugees escaping. And I've just not read it yet because I want it almost to be a special occasion, because I will go through it, quite quickly. I mean, I could read this tonight. It's so beautifully illustrated. I know that's not the only point of this book, obviously. It's not going to be a enjoyable tale. It's I'm always saving it. I'm not sure what for. I just don't want to ruin it by, not ruin it, but I don't want to eat all in one go. Just truly lovely illustration. I'm not sure if it's poetry or if it's just a story. But yeah, I don't often buy things like this, but I'm very glad I did. Yeah. Okay. I think that's it. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening to me